this next session, I'll share my 6 steps to success route map that sets out a path to achieve a gender balance. The steps advise you to examine your data before jumping to solutions, identify female talent pools, recalibrate your practices and culture to ensure all good performers can thrive, and adjust your recruitment processes so that they don't disadvantage diverse women. They also guide you through how to ensure women progress through the promotional pipeline and how to retain women in the business. In the book that accompanies the conference, you'll find case studies from Automotive 30% Club members to demonstrate the great work that's already being done by businesses today. I hope that by sharing the amazing changes that these automotive companies have already made, the practical applications can be noted and adapted for implementation in many other business situations. The 6 steps are also the topics of our 3 masterclasses today, with each masterclass discussing 2 of the steps. So let's take a close look at the 6 steps to success. Step 1 is know your data and be accountable for progress. You must identify your starting point by collecting female representation data across all job roles and levels of the business, and then creating your action plan. You must set SMART goals, because if you don't measure progress, you won't make any, and also hold senior management to account for delivering the objective of building high-performing, diverse and gender-balanced teams. You must allocate a realistic budget to be able to implement the necessary changes, which is in effect investing in future increased profitability. You must monitor gender balance or differences in the form of recruits, the uptake of parental leave, promotional rates, moves and staff turnover. Then investigate reasons for gender imbalance and identify priorities for going fast first. Step 2 is reach out to new talent pools and find new sources of skills. You must cast your net wide and engage with new sources of skills to look for the best person for each job. The CEO of our conference sponsor, Salesforce, explained the importance of making the extra effort to ensure you get the best female talent when he said, "I don't believe we should be hiring any woman who applies simply for the sake of meeting a quota. But I do insist we go the extra mile to find those highly qualified women candidates who we believe would be the best fit for the role." Now, there are several sources of female talent that you should reach out to: women in your company, women who've left your company, women returners after maternity, professional women in sector and external networks, and young women in education. We'll discuss step 1 and step 2 in our first masterclass. So having identified your starting point and action plan, and then the various places where you can look for the best person for the job, before you hire them, you must ensure that your organisation is calibrated effectively to ensure they'll be fully included. So step 3 is recalibrate for inclusion and design for productivity, not presenteeism. If you want to introduce people who are different to those currently working in the organisation, we must recalibrate the working practices and policies to ensure they are properly accommodated and fully included. Women, people of colour and many youngsters simply don't fit into the traditional ways of working because organisations were not originally designed for them. So we must modernise and adapt working norms to suit 21st century life and a contemporary workforce. Business leaders must examine their facilities and conditions, working norms, meeting protocols, the level of internal competition and risk-taking, and their organisational structure. So you must consciously design your organisation for inclusion of women and minority groups and ensure that you don't have systems in place that inadvertently exclude them. Ensure working conditions are favourable for both sexes and that practices nudge people to adopt the required norms and inclusive behaviours. That would be avoiding impression management, presenteeism and damaging internal competition. Step 4 is welcome in the women and recruit equitably. When you've recalibrated the workplace for inclusion, you'll be ready to recruit and welcome in the women. To welcome in those women by removing bias and barriers, you should learn the right language to effectively promote your vacancies to women. You need to scrutinise selection data, and be transparent about pay. You should be blind to gender and diversity cues by redacting information from application forms. And don't confuse years of experience with actual expertise. Aim for gender-balanced shortlists and put at least 2 women in a pool of candidates. Ensuring person specifications and leadership traits aren't stereotypically male, using language and imagery to appeal to women, removing bias in the selection process and having gender-balanced shortlists will all lead to higher numbers of female recruits. Steps 3 and 4 will be covered in our second masterclass. Then it's essential to make sure that there are no unfair impediments to their progression. So step 5 is pull women through the pipeline and promote proportionately. After having recruited women into your organisation and recalibrated the culture, structure and processes to ensure they're made welcome and included, you must turn attention to ensuring that women can progress through the skills pipeline up the management levels to the top of the organisation. This will mean removing bias by redesigning work allocation and promotion processes to remove subjectivity. The following actions can help leaders to promote proportionately: remote and flexible working at the top, succession planning to match people to the right roles, asking women to apply for promotions, coaching and leadership programs that embrace stereotypically female traits, official sponsoring and mentoring programs, and establishing networks that have the goal of improving the gender balance in the company, as well as enabling female employees to access women's networks and conferences to meet other successful role model women. Keep a check on whether you are promoting proportionately as well as hiring equitably, and ensure that if women are leaving management levels, you're not mainly replacing them with male external hires. Finally, step 6 is hold on to your investment and maintain the balance. Having invested considerable resources in recruiting and promoting women, make sure you don't lose them before you get the return on that investment. Retention is critical. Here are some of the issues that you must be aware of to make sure you hold on to the investment that you've made in your female employees. They include the motherhood penalty leading to a career slow lane for women. Note that women expect fair and equal pay, which must be transparent. Be aware that successful women are often more unpopular with both sexes than successful men, and this can affect how they're viewed by subordinates, peers and bosses. This was actually first proven using a study in which the profile of a top businesswoman called Heidi Roizen was shared with students at Columbia University, but some of the students were given the profile with the name changed to Howard. All students thought Heidi and Howard were equally competent, but Howard was seen as more likable, whereas Heidi was seen as selfish and not the type of person you would want to work for. They were the same person. And this held true for both male and female students. So this dislike of female leaders is exacerbated when stereotypically male traits are used to define effective leadership in an organisation. A woman displaying such male traits is disliked by colleagues. To retain women, it's extremely important to give them the credit and recognition they deserve to ensure they feel appreciated enough to stay. Their essential contribution to business success must be appreciated and made visible. This is the purpose of our annual Inspiring Automotive Women Awards. Finally, it's essential to realise that women are disproportionately affected by workplace sexual harassment and hostility, that if left untackled affects their health and wellness and will ultimately lead to them leaving the business. Zero tolerance policies must be communicated and enforced by the top management to ensure that this unacceptable behaviour is eliminated. So those are the 6 steps to success. And now the next 3 sessions are masterclasses featuring senior executives, and each of the masterclasses will cover 2 of the steps to success.